Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Inspired Writer Collective podcast. We hope you have enjoyed some of our recent guest episodes. And today we have more of an in-house episode with a newer twist and direction. And Stephanie is going to be here today to talk about some of the ways to show up with your author platform and more along the publishing realm and the tech behind being a
Yeah,
writer
I'm
in
really
this world.
excited to be focusing on this new direction in the Inspired Writer Collective, in our community, bringing more of the tech focus and building your platform as you work on your path towards publishing, especially because sometimes the tech piece can be the scary piece. And I'm pretty willing to jump in and fiddle around and try things out and explore things. And so I'm going to be here to bring some of the experiences I've had and talk about, especially today, the emphasis is on how to show up online in your author platform without feeling like you have to have your face everywhere. And this has been a topic that has been on the forefront of my mind because I've been thinking a lot about how, while I really enjoy showing up here for recording for our podcasts, that sometimes I'm not so eager to be everywhere on all of our platforms. And so it's brought this to the forefront because I know that for a lot of you listeners, if you're like me and more introverted, or maybe you aren't introverted, but you just don't want to have your face plastered everywhere, that hopefully some of these ideas I'm going to share with you today will help you think about your author platform and showing up. So, one of the first things that comes to mind that is, of course, where a lot of emphasis should be is building your email list. And this can feel really intimidating because you can feel like, oh my goodness, I don't even know if anybody out there is going to want to connect with me. And really, it's important because email is still the way that you can have control over your audience and who you're talking to. And most people, or at least the majority of people, are still checking their email every day. It's a way for you to be in their inbox. You don't have to email every day. I'll put that caveat in there. You can email once a week. You can even email once a month. It's really up to you how often you want to send out information to your readers, to people who support you in your writing journey, whoever might be on your list. And the intimidating part of the email list can be deciding on an email service provider. And an email service provider is a platform that you choose. There are many out there: ConvertKit, MailChimp, just to name a few. There's so many more, but those are really important because they allow you to really create the look of your email. And if you're wondering more about that, in the coming weeks, I'll be doing some YouTube videos showing the back end of some of the platforms we use. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you know how to get in there, it really is quite easy and simple to get it set up. So don't let the tech intimidate you from thinking about building your email list. And the other reason for using an email service provider rather than just your email and adding a lot of blind copy emails to all your emails is, one, that's cumbersome. And two, the world online is shifted to where emails are like those where you add a whole long list of people you're sending a blind copy to are being bounced more often, being tossed into spam folders more often. And so it's important to look at having an email service provider for that. And and the great thing about that is you make it your own. You offer what you want to say to your audience. And when you're building your email list, one of the ways to collect emails is that you can give away a first chapter, or if you have a particular focus in your, memoir, that maybe give away, tips for traveling to where you live, or, fun little ways that you can connect with your audience that really connect with what your book and your story is about. And so that brings me to building your website is another great way to be online. And on your website, you can, of course, have information. You can choose to have a picture or not. And like I said, this has been on my mind because for my writing, I'm going to be using a pen name. And so I've been thinking about, how can I promote myself without needing to have a picture? And so having a blog on your website is a really great way. And then, of course, with your website, you can have space there to have people join your email list. So it's a natural connection right there to have that for yourself as an author. And with your website, you'll and setting up your blog, you can do so many things with your blog that allow you to, again, not have to be everywhere. Elizabeth and I were just talking before this about, mining through the sentences of what you've written and pulling out little quotes from there that can then be used with a picture as a background on any social media platforms that you might be on. Now, I will say that you can promote yourself and have your author platform without being on social media. You'll find that there are people who are doing that. It takes a little bit more footwork because if you're not on social media platforms where people are hovering or hanging out, but it's not to say that it can't happen, because when you're going to, events in person, you can collect email addresses there. There are different ways that you can build up your email list in that regard. But going back to collecting quotes, if your story, your memoir, your book has particular themes to it, whether it's where it takes place or things that are of interest to you, you can use images from those aspects in your social media platform and simply put your quotes up. And then your words are getting out there and parts of your story are getting out there for readers as little teasers of, hey, like, you want to read more? Like, here's something I thought about, related to my childhood or an experience I had, or, something that I really struggled with. And how did I work through that? You can have entire themes as you're building up that space for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And the thing with memoir, especially, is there's so many stories that don't make the cut, right? And so you probably have a whole section. I know I do in my Scrivener. It's in the little recycle bin or used for a different purpose kind of category. So you could have teasers that are like, this is a story that didn't make the memoir. It still introduces potential readers of your book to your writing style and your general like approach and point of view that they may relate to and resonate with. And so even if there are stories like you're not sharing the stories that appear in your memoir, although I think the first chapter teaser is a great idea, you can use all of that content that isn't usable for the memoir as a way
Oh,
to
yeah,
promote your
absolutely. I
platform.
mean, that's such a great idea because sometimes we think that when we've written something or we've set it aside that, oh, well, am I ever going to use that? Am I ever going to look back at that? And using that as a bank of words and resources to use for building your platform is such a great plan, because it just allows you to not have to really think that hard about how you're going to show up and what you're going to put out there, because you already have stuff written on the page and you can jump right to it. And that's so important, to try to figure out how to break down whatever barrier might be in your way to showing up online. I know that that's something that I wrestle with myself is, I'll get really excited and I'll start doing things, and then I get distracted by life and other things. And then I forget about the importance of showing up. And we can certainly speak to the value of consistency. This is going to be, episode 23 of our podcast, and showing up every week. And it just builds that trust and relationship with, in this case, of course, with our listeners. And listeners, we're so happy you're here with us. And we love being able to see where you're showing up from. It's so much fun, because behind the scenes of the podcast here, we can go into what's on the back end and see where everybody's showing up from. And that's a lot of fun. And that could be a lot of fun too for you, listener. If you're curious about podcasting, you can simply take your blog posts and turn them into a podcast. So then you have the audio, you have your voice that's connecting with your readers and who, your audience is for your book. And that can be a really fun way to connect without needing to have your face everywhere. And that's very easy to do. Simply, find audio record right into your computer, even through a voice memo. So much of the software out there that's available for podcasting can allow you to do something as simple as a voice memo recording and upload it. And, and then you're off and running with your podcast. Use the platform Buzzsprout for where we upload our podcast to. And before that, we use Descript which allows us to have a transcript and the video and all those pieces. But in the beginning, you don't have to have so many pieces in place. It can be very simple. And with that being said, I lost my train of thought. I'll edit this part out. Okay, go ahead.
I have something I can add. Yeah, I have something I can add. You've presented so many great options. And I know that email list, I've heard this over and over again, being like the bread and butter, right? Because it's like space that you own. You don't know when the algorithms are going to change on the social media platforms, or you'll get blocked inadvertently because you accidentally posted something that the bots thought was bad and now you're kicked off for 2 weeks, or you have to unlock your account. I mean, you hear nightmare after nightmare about it. And I know starting the email list can be really intimidating, but one of the really, I think, helpful recommendations that I've heard as far as like, how do you even start generating your email list, is you send a text in your phone to your family and friends. These are people that you know are interested in your book simply because they're interested in you as the author. They want to support you. They are your friends. And so you send them a text, you can copy and paste it of, hey, I'm starting this email list. It's going to be about my book. You'll get updates about when things are ready and when it gets published, and early copies and information along the journey. Are you interested in being added to my email list? If so, shoot me your email address. So simply just asking at that base level of family and friends before you even have to set up a Instagram account and ask people to subscribe to your list or create a promo thing. You can really just start at that level. Same thing. You could put something up on your Facebook page, your personal Facebook page, and say, hey, friends and fam, those of you may or may not know I'm getting ready to write this book, especially when you're writing in the category of memoir. People are really, fascinated of what's happening behind the scenes in the lives of the people that they know and love. And so that's a great way to start with even just a base number of people on your email list. I know from personal experience, having gone through building email lists for various business endeavors, it can be a little intimidating in the beginning. But especially with memoir writing and as an author, your family and friends want to support you. So that's a great place to reach out initially to start generating those
I love
subscribers
that
to
you
your email
bring
list.
that up as as an example, because of course we did that in the very beginning and I had completely forgotten about that strategy for starting the list. So I'm so glad you brought that to the forefront today in this discussion, because that is a very simple way that you can get started. And it can be exciting because sometimes as writers, we sit and we think, oh, nobody's going to want to read what I've written, or nobody's going to want to hear from me. But like Elizabeth said, especially with memoir, we're all curious about people's stories. That's, of course, how we connect with each other. And what better way to connect and share your story than through your email list? And maybe you'll discover that you'll reconnect with people in your family that you hadn't connected with in a long time. And then all of a sudden, you have this whole new way of connecting. And then you can encourage them to share it with people they know as a way to support you. So that's a really great way to get started. And also touching upon what you said just about social media platforms, is that's rented space. You're just there. You don't know what's going to happen at any given moment. The algorithms can shift. One day it can be accepting of, I think about Instagram, for example, it used to be very accepting with the links in the bio. And then now there's a whole new set of hoops to jump through for people if you have that link in a bio, and it can turn people off. And unfortunately, with all of the spammers and people out there doing things that are not so great online, it creates additional barriers for those of us who are just trying to be out there connecting with people. So those are important things to think about, is that you as the author, you want to be in charge of your space online. And in the forefront of that is your email list and your website. And when you have those in place, then you can think about the other pieces to add on, whether you want to add them or not. Like I said at the beginning, it's not a requirement to be on every social media platform. And with that being said, one of the places that we enjoy showing up, as many of you know, since we're doing our videos, is YouTube. And YouTube often gets mixed in with being called social media. And they've maybe entered into that a little bit with YouTube Shorts, but really YouTube is a search engine. It's where people who are going to use that platform are using it to search for information. They want specific answers to specific questions. And so if you can show up there, and you don't have to show up with your face there either. You can create a slide deck in Google Slides or PowerPoint or Canva or whatever platform you're familiar with creating some kind of slide deck, and you can talk over it. And so that's another way that you can show up, or you can do videos of, things in your life that you want to share and talk about it in relationship to your memoir and your book. So it's important to remember that while YouTube gets mixed in with the social media, that it's really a search engine, and it's a great place to show up if you don't want to show up in other spaces. Because I can certainly speak to our experience that when looking at the behind the scenes analytic numbers, that YouTube definitely gives us more reach in terms of, you know, potentially connecting with new members of the audience. And we've just are organically building our connections with people there. And it takes time. It's not immediate. That's the other thing to remember, is that, one of the things that social media does that can really mess with your mind, is it can make you think that, everything's going to happen overnight, or you're going to, there are all kinds of promotional things like get, thousands of subscribers to your email list by doing this. And the reality is that that it doesn't work like that. People can promote that all day long, but the reality is that it's a slow burn. It takes time. The main thing is just showing up consistently for yourself. If in the same way that you think about, if you were showing up to, you know, a job every day. And, with writing being your job, it's the same idea. It's like, how am I going to show up for myself today to connect with others? And one of the other ideas that comes to mind is, of course, connecting with your independent bookstores. I think that it's a great way that you can show up and you can allow the bookstore to help promote you. It's a way that you can be in front of people. And oftentimes, I know there was just the independent bookstore Saturday, which is, of course, a national thing where independent bookstores are encouraging people to come to their stores. And there are many of them that will support local author events and their local authors. And I know, we know of local authors in our community that were just a part of one at a local bookstore. And so that's a really important connection to make as well, because it's the independent booksellers that are going to really want to help you get your books on the shelf. Not to say that, you can't end up in the, bigger box store shelves, but really it's the independent bookstores are really there for their writers and their readers. So I definitely encourage doing that for yourself as well.
I want to say something too about, not showing your face and the fact that you might be sitting on a gem that you don't even realize. You might have a trending face in your household that you are underutilizing, and that is your pets. There is nothing that goes. Can tell you the stats are there, even on our stuff too. Like when Stephanie posts, pictures of Ruby, or we have like the cows in the background on a reel, like those things are just attract people, and you don't have to use your own face. You're not having to use your kid. You're not having to use anything like that. But if you have an adorable pet, it's so easy to take a short clip of a video of them doing something silly, or them napping, or them doing, like I have a video, I forget how many views it got, but it was one of my early, I think it was like 400 views. One of my early like videos that actually got some traction on TikTok, and it was of Sarge napping, and he had his like pull over his eyes and stuff. And it's like you can use that content and it's going to get some really great traction online. It doesn't have to be your face. So don't forget that there may be other faces in your
I
household that
love
you
that
can
because
use.
that could make it more fun for you too, because of course we all connect over our pets. If you have pets of your own, you probably have communities of people that you're connected with, or you don't even realize that you're on the social media platforms scrolling through the cat videos or the, silly dog videos or, birds or who knows what. Yeah.
Goat screaming. That was a big one for a
Yeah,
while.
all
All
of
the
those
goat
can
screaming
be,
videos.
great fun to use. So again, listener, we're going to be bringing more of these, thinking about building your author platform, thinking about the publishing path, thinking about the tech tools that are there. And I'll be doing some short, quick videos that'll start appearing on our YouTube channel, showing a little behind the scenes of some of the tech tools, because, of course, it's challenging to show you how any of this works when we're here on the podcast. And we also want to encourage you to join our community. We are a community for women who are writing their memoir, and you can find us at our website, inspiredwritercollective.com. And if you're wanting to learn more about it before jumping in and joining, right on our website, you can schedule a chat with us. We love to connect with you and meet with you and have you join us.
I have a little story to share from this week. Stephanie and I had an opportunity to meet up in person in our little local community, just the two of us getting to the coffee shop and getting some work done. And I wasn't expecting to have an emotional reaction to the detailed outline stuff I was working on for my memoir. But I think seeing it in such a condensed form and kind of reliving some of those experiences and writing out what the internal realizations were, even if that was denial at the time, was really hard hitting for me in that moment. And I was so thankful to have Stephanie there across the table. And that's a particular example of meeting in person, but I've had the same similar situations that have happened in our virtual time to write sessions where something has been especially difficult because memoir is a very personal process of writing. It can be gut wrenching at times. It can be beautiful at times as well. And the whole process is extremely healing, but that requires you to kind of go through the muck and the mud sometimes. It has been so fundamental for my mental health support to have that sense of community with the writing. And so, again, just seconding what Stephanie's already said, we would love to have any of you that are interested in writing memoir. Maybe you've started a rough draft. Maybe you're just thinking about it. Maybe you just want to journal and see what comes of it. And you can get some of that same introspection and healing and processing of your thoughts and feelings through that as well. We're expanding and supporting just the journaling efforts. And we would love to have you be a part of our community. Please like, share, subscribe to this channel, to this podcast. We want to hear from you and we see you, and we're so excited to have you join us for whatever part of the journey you're interested in sharing alongside us.